Your new trainer will be Veronica Martinez, who I believe you know quite well, the regional director said, watching Amanda's triumphant smile freeze and shatter like cheap glass. She'd spent 8 months telling everyone I was too incompetent to understand basic financial protocols, and now she was staring at me across the conference table as her boss continued. Veronica designed the entire system you'll be managing, though I understand you've had some interesting opinions about her capabilities. What Amanda didn't know, what she'd never bothered to learn while spreading her poison, was that I'd been working directly with corporate for the past 6 months as their shadow consultant, restructuring the very department she'd just been promoted to lead. The saga began a year ago when I joined Meridian Financial Services as a senior analyst. Amanda Colbert had been there for 3 years, comfortable in her position as the office queen bee, the one who knew everyone and everything, or so she thought. "You're the new girl," she'd said on my first day, all bright smiles and artificial warmth. "Don't worry, I'll show you the ropes. These systems can be super complicated for someone without our specific background." I'd smiled back, not mentioning my decade of experience at larger firms or the financial modeling certifications that wallpapered my home office. Sometimes it was better to be underestimated. The first month was pleasant enough. Amanda positioned herself as my mentor, explaining basic concepts with the patient tone of a kindergarten teacher. I nodded along, filed my reports, and quietly observed the inefficiencies that plagued every department. The trouble started when I fixed something. Our quarterly reporting system was a mess, manual data entry across 12 spreadsheets that took 3 days to compile. I spent a weekend building an automated solution that reduced it to 3 hours. Monday morning, I showed it to our manager, Robert. "This is incredible," he'd said, immediately calling Amanda in. "Look what Veronica built. We could save 20 hours a month with this." Amanda's smile had turned brittle. "Oh, that's nice. But our current system has worked for years. Sometimes newer isn't better. 20 hours a month, Amanda. That's half a work week." She'd laughed, that tinkling sound I'd learned to recognize as a warning. "I just worry about compliance issues. Veronica doesn't fully understand our regulatory requirements yet. Maybe we should have legal review it? That could take months." But Robert implemented it anyway. That's when Amanda's campaign began. "Poor Veronica," I heard her tell the break room audience a week later. "She means well, but she just doesn't get how things work here. That little automation project? Robert had to fix a ton of errors. He's too nice to tell her." There were no errors. I'd checked with Robert, but the seed was planted. Every achievement became a failure in Amanda's retelling. When I streamlined the audit process, she told people I'd confused things so badly that Amanda had to step in. When I caught a $100,000 discrepancy in vendor payments, she claimed she'd discovered it and I'd merely done the paperwork backwards. "It's not her fault," Amanda would say with practiced sympathy. "Some people just aren't cut out for high-level finance. But she tries so hard, bless her heart." Bless her heart. The Southern woman's elegant assassination. I could have fought back, could have corrected the record, shown receipts, made a fuss. Instead, I did something more strategic. I let her talk while I worked. See, Amanda was so busy spreading rumors, she'd stopped paying attention to what was actually happening. While she held court at happy hours, poisoning my reputation, I was having different conversations. With IT about system vulnerabilities, with compliance about regulatory changes, with operations about process bottlenecks. And with corporate. The call came 3 months into Amanda's Whisper campaign. Dennis Liu, Senior Vice President of Operations, wanted to discuss optimization opportunities in our regional offices. "We've noticed some interesting improvements in your branch's metrics," he'd said. "Faster reporting, fewer errors, better audit scores. Robert mentioned you've been instrumental in several initiatives." "I've made some suggestions," I said carefully, not mentioning that Amanda had claimed credit for half of them. "We're launching a shadow consultant program. Basically, we want someone on the ground who can assess operations without the politics. Someone who can see what's really working and what's just bureaucratic theater. Interested?" "Very interested." For the next 6 months, I lived a double life. To Amanda and the Office Gossip Network, I was still sweet but dim Veronica, trying her best but never quite getting it. Meanwhile, I was documenting every process, every inefficiency, every place where ego trumped effectiveness. Amanda's department was particularly revealing. She ran it like a personal fiefdom, information hoarded, processes deliberately complicated to maintain her irreplaceable status, Newer employees discouraged from learning too much because it's very complex, sweetie. I worry about her team, I told Dennis during one of our monthly calls. High turnover, low morale, and the knowledge management is basically non-existent. If Amanda ever left, the department would collapse. Funny you mention that. We're restructuring that division, creating a regional manager role to oversee multiple branches. Internal promotion, but they'd need someone who really understands the systems to train them. Do you have someone in mind for the promotion? Robert recommended Amanda Colbert. Says she's been there the longest, knows everything. I'd paused, choosing my words carefully. She certainly projects that impression. But knowing how to work a system and understanding why it works are different things. Has anyone verified her actual competencies? That question had started a review process that Amanda never knew about. Corporate tested her knowledge through seemingly routine assessments. They interviewed her team under the guise of employee satisfaction surveys. They examined the processes she claimed to have created. The results were damning. Amanda knew how to follow procedures, but not why they existed. She couldn't explain regulatory requirements beyond. That's how we've always done it. Her innovations were either cosmetic or someone else's work. But she'd been there the longest. She had Robert's recommendation. And sometimes, corporate decided, the best lessons were learned through experience. They gave her the promotion. I'm going to transform this entire region, Amanda had announced at her goodbye party, barely glancing at me. Finally, I'll be somewhere my talents are appreciated, working with people who actually understand business. I'd raised my plastic cup of champagne. Congratulations, Amanda. I'm sure you'll do exactly what you deserve to do. She'd missed the subtext, too drunk on triumph to parse words carefully. 2 weeks later, I got my own call from Dennis. Congratulations, Veronica. You're our new regional systems architect. You'll be designing and implementing standardized processes across all branches, starting with Amanda's region. That's quite a coincidence, isn't it? She specifically requested someone from corporate to train her. Says she wants to learn from the best. Imagine her surprise when she learns the best was sitting next to her all along. Which brought us to this moment. Amanda staring at me across a conference table in corporate's Dallas office, her new boss explaining how fortunate she was to have me as her trainer. But, Amanda sputtered. There must be a mistake. Veronica is just an analyst. She doesn't understand. Ms. Martinez, Dennis interrupted smoothly, has been serving as our shadow consultant for 6 months. She designed most of the systems you'll be implementing. In fact, if you check page 12 of your orientation packet, you'll see her efficiency protocols have become corporate standard. I opened my own packet to page 12, helpfully circled. There it was, Martinez method for financial reporting integration. The same automation Amanda had tried to kill, now mandatory across all branches. I don't. Amanda's voice faded to nothing. Why don't we start with the basics? I suggested, pulling up the first training module. I know you've been telling people I don't understand financial protocols, so let's make sure we're aligned on fundamentals. Question 1. Explain the regulatory basis for our vendor approval matrix. The what? The vendor approval matrix. You've been managing vendor payments for 3 years. Surely you understand the compliance framework. Her face went from pale to pink to an alarming crimson. That's not. I know how to process them. But not why we process them that way. Silence. Let's try another. What's the statutory holding period for disputed transaction documentation? That's very specific. It's also very basic. Every analyst should know it's 90 days for standard disputes, extending to 2 years for suspected fraud. I kept my voice patient, kindergarten teacher kind. But don't worry. That's why I'm here. To help you understand all the things you've been doing without knowing why. The next 4 hours were an education. Not for Amanda, she was too stunned to absorb much, but for Dennis and the 2 other corporate executives who'd joined to observe the training process. Every question revealed another gap. Every gap led to another revelation about how Amanda had survived through social manipulation rather than actual knowledge. Every revelation deepened the horror in her eyes as she realized what had happened. She'd played politics while I'd learned the business. She'd spread rumors while I'd built solutions. She'd claimed credit while I'd earned credibility with the people who actually mattered. I think that's enough for today, Dennis finally said. Amanda, you have a lot to absorb. Veronica will be working with you for the next month to get you up to speed. A month? Her voice was barely a whisper. At least, Veronica's assessment will determine if you're ready to actually lead the department or if you need additional support. After the executives left, Amanda and I sat alone in the conference room. The silence stretched between us like a contested border. You planned this, she finally said. No, you planned this. Every rumor you spread, every achievement you diminished, every time you called me incompetent, you were building the trap you're sitting in now. I was just what? Protecting your territory? Eliminating competition. I started packing up my materials. You were so busy telling everyone I didn't understand the business. You never bothered to check if it was true. Meanwhile, I was understanding it so well that corporate put me in charge of redesigning it. What am I supposed to do now? Learn, I said simply. Actually learn. Not just which buttons to push, but why they exist. Not just how to process reports, but what they mean. Do the work you've been pretending to do for 3 years. And if I can't, then you'll fail. But it won't be because someone spread rumors about you or undermined your credibility. It'll be because you genuinely don't know what you're doing. I paused at the door. Which, ironically, is what you accused me of. Projection really is fascinating, isn't it? I left her there, staring at training materials that might as well have been written in Sanskrit for all she understood them. Over the next month, I trained Amanda with meticulous professionalism. I answered every question, explained every process, provided every resource. I gave her exactly what she denied me: actual mentorship, genuine support, honest feedback. She struggled. Not because she was stupid, but because she'd spent years avoiding the hard work of real understanding. Every shortcut she'd taken had become a roadblock. Every piece of knowledge she'd hoarded instead of sharing had atrophied in isolation. I don't think I can do this, she admitted during week 3. You can, I said. But you have to stop performing and start learning. Stop managing impressions and start managing systems. Is that what you did? No, I never had the luxury of performing. Nobody was impressed by me, remember? I was just the incompetent new girl who didn't understand anything. So I had to actually understand everything. She completed the training, barely. Dennis approved her for the role, conditionally. She would have a 6-month probation period with monthly assessments. By me. Congratulations, I told her on her last day of training. You're now exactly where you wanted to be. Leading a department you told everyone I couldn't understand. This isn't how I imagined it, she said quietly. Reality rarely matches our imagination, especially when our imagination is built on lies we tell about other people. I returned to my role as regional systems architect, designing solutions for problems I'd identified during my shadow consultant days. Amanda struggled through her probation, learning slowly that leadership required more than longevity and less than perfection. She never spread another rumor about anyone's competence. Hard to throw stones when you're sitting in a glass house you can barely maintain. As for me, I learned that sometimes the best response to someone questioning your competence isn't to argue or prove them wrong in the moment. Sometimes it's better to let them talk while you work. Let them perform while you produce. Let them spread their poison while you plant your garden. Because in the end, competence isn't about what people say you can do. It's about what you actually do when no one's watching, when there's no credit to claim, when the only witness to your work is the work itself. Amanda had confused reputation with reality, forgetting that one was just opinion while the other was fact. She'd built her career on the former, while I'd built mine on the latter. Guess which one lasted longer?